Hello, I'm Dr. Stephen Knowlton, Dr. No for short. Welcome to 5 Minutes with Dr. No. Got 5 minutes to listen to a story? It was in 2022, now about 2.5 years ago. My wife and I were driving from Reidsville, North Carolina up to Littleton, New Hampshire in our 2017 Chevy Bolt, the car I'm driving right now. As you may know, the Chevy Bolt is all electric, running on lithium-ion batteries. No gasoline. It's a great little car, very agile, and with a range of 260 miles. To make a long trip in an EV, an electric vehicle, you have to plan ahead a little more than you would if you were in a car that runs on gasoline. And this trip was long, 880 miles long. But we had made the trip from Reidsville to Chatham, Massachusetts, out on Cape Cod, a year before without any major problems. And that trip was 820 miles. The trip up was uneventful. We used the application PlugShare to figure out a route from Reidsville, North Carolina to Stanton, Virginia. We then drove from Stanton, Virginia to Hagerstown, Maryland, and after charging there, we drove from Hagerstown, Maryland to Allentown, Pennsylvania, where we stayed overnight. The next day, we drove from Allentown, Pennsylvania to Newburgh, New York, and then from Newburgh, New York to Manchester, Vermont. The last part of our trip that day was from Manchester, Vermont to Shrewsbury, Vermont, where we stayed overnight at a bed and breakfast. On our last day, we drove from Shrewsbury, Vermont to Littleton, New Hampshire. We charged at Electrify America charging stations, except in Manchester and Shrewsbury. All of the chargers were DCFC, which stands for Direct Current Fast Charger. In Shrewsbury, we charged overnight from a 120-volt wall receptacle at the bed and breakfast we stayed at. We then took a 500-mile round trip down to Chatham, Massachusetts to see my sister, then headed back to Reidsville from Littleton for the last leg of the trip. Our first night was to be in Newburgh, New York at the same Electrify America charger we had used just weeks before. The morning we left Littleton, I checked PlugShare and saw that someone had successfully used the chargers there at 8:30 a.m. So we headed south, stopping in Holyoke, Massachusetts on the way to charge at a Hyundai dealership. Nearing Newburgh, we made arrangements online to stay overnight at a local motel, then headed for the Electrify America charging station. At that time, most Electrify America charging stations were located in Walmart Supercenter parking lots. This was no exception. The only problem was that the 4 high-speed chargers were surrounded by a chain-link fence. There was no access. Our Chevy Bolt was down to less than 100 miles of range, and we had already paid for a local motel. PlugShare showed that a local dealership also had a high-speed charger, but when we got there, we found the staff knew nothing about it. There was an EVgo charger 18 miles south of us, but we did not know whether it was open at night, and it was far away from the motel we had just arranged. Finally, we found a Nissan dealership with level 2 charging within a half-mile of the motel. The staff there kindly allowed me to charge the Bolt overnight. The most dangerous part of the trip was when I crossed a 6-lane highway at night to get back to our motel. After this fiasco, the rest of the trip home to Reidsville was easy. We stopped at the same Electrify America charging stations we had used on the way up, except for Stanton, where we stayed overnight at a Best Western and used their level 2 charger to fill up the Bolt. The total distance for the trip was 2,900 miles. Not bad for an electric car. All in all, this charging problem was the worst we have had in 7 years of long-range electric driving. We have driven to Charleston, South Carolina, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, Greenville, South Carolina, Boone, North Carolina, and Princeton, New Jersey, without major problems. All of these trips required a little more planning than if we had driven our 2008 Prius, but they were doable. And as time goes on, as there are now more charging stations, and electric cars have more range, traveling in an EV has gotten easier and easier. I hope you have enjoyed this video. Please add a comment if you would like and watch some of my other videos on 5 Minutes with Dr. No. Thank you.